Preview and convert. I'm David Dilling, and later you'll meet my colleague Doug Rosen. Welcome to our presentation from Markzware. We're very thankful to be here at the CreativePro conference, an online event this year. We'll be showing you how we can preview and convert many of the file formats you see on this screen and much more. I won't have much time to go over this slide, but what I like best about working at Markzware is that they started at basically the dawn of DTP at the very beginning. The founders themselves, who are still with the company today, have DTP printing and publishing in their blood. Yes, conversion. We do a lot of conversion. We're known for our conversion. For instance, you will know, of course, probably many of you, Q to ID for Quark to InDesign. And of course, flight check to help you check files before going to print. PDF to InDesign with PDFMarkz, very popular. And our new product, IDMarkz, which Doug will show you, and you're really going to love seeing this one. This is very interesting. And our new entire line of the Markz line, which will include, as you see here, QXPMarkz and PDFMarkz, and another little surprise which we'll get to later. We have other products and services. Check out Markzware.com for more information. So let's quickly over this slide. We're very excited to be here. As such, we're going to give you a discount for watching this presentation, 20% off our products. And we'll probably extend it a little bit after the show for those watching a little bit later. But also, if you go to this link, you can enter to win a free Markzware product. There'll be 3 lucky winners. In total, we'll be giving away $600 worth of software. Q to ID, many of you know Q to ID. It's one of our flagship conversion products nowadays. Still sells excellently, and it converts with a click QuarkXPress to Adobe InDesign. If I had a little more time, I'd actually show you a demo. It's real simple and easy anyway. Click there, choose a Quark document, just like File Open basically, and voila, you have a brand new InDesign file from your Quark document. We have the testimonies to back it up. Cruising over to Markzware.com/products/Q to ID, and you'll find the testimonials. Okay, so now PDF DTP, Markzware's PDF to Adobe InDesign converter. Let's throw it over to Doug. He's going to give you an in-depth demonstration of this. Doug, over to you.
Thanks, Dave. Let's take a look at Markzware's PDF to DTP plugin for InDesign, which converts PDF files into InDesign files. Let's say that you have a job around, you lost the InDesign file or it's corrupted, but you do have a PDF, and hopefully a high quality one, like a press quality PDF. You can just open that up using PDF to DTP, and now, within a matter of a few seconds, you have an editable InDesign file created from your PDF file. So let's see what's on these pages. If I do a Command A, you can see how the text boxes are broken up. And if I get down to this page right here, and I do a Command A, you can see that PDF to DTP attempted to thread the text boxes the best it could. So text will flow. Now let's take a look at what happened behind the scenes. When the file was converted, PDF to DTP created a folder. It placed the InDesign file that it created from the PDF, and then it extracted out all of the previews that it could from that file and placed them in that folder. But let's take a closer look at how the settings the PDF was created with affect what PDF to DTP actually can do. So here I have 2 PDFs. They're created from the same InDesign file, but the settings out of InDesign were smallest file size and press quality PDF. So let's convert the smallest file size one first. And the document consists of 2 images. This original image is 72 dpi over here on the left. This image over here that was placed was 300 dpi. Then 2 tables. Now if I go ahead and hide my lines here, this looks like a table, but because it doesn't have the strokes around the cells, PDF to DTP doesn't know that it's a real table, so it looks like one, but it's not going to behave like one. It grouped the text the best it could, but unfortunately it's not a true table. So now let's go ahead and convert this file's big brother, where we used press quality settings for the same exact InDesign file, and it looks identical. This one again is not a table. This one here actually is a table in InDesign. It's a true table. And the same is true again for the smallest file size. That one is a true table. But again, let's take a look at what happened behind the scenes. So PDF to DTP created two folders, one for the smallest file size, one for the press quality, and it extracted the images, but look at the file size. This one is 241K, this one is 609K, and for the press quality PDF, this image is 418K, but this image happens to be 4.7 megabytes. So what that allows you to do is if you have a nice quality PDF but don't have your original InDesign file, you can actually create a very nice quality InDesign file, and it'll link in the high-res images or some images that are really high quality. All depends on the settings that you created the PDF with. So this is a really handy feature of Markzware's PDF to DTP plugin for InDesign that converts PDF files to InDesign, which allows you to resurrect files you may not have an original InDesign file for. And now, back to Dave.
As you saw, PDF DTP is a fantastic product. It really is. It's going to get you out of jams where all you have left is that PDF, and we have the testimonies to back it up. Cruising over to Markz.com today to get more information on this product. Now let's get a deep dive into IDMarkz, the new macOS application for Markzware. By the way, it's also being worked on for Windows, so you Windows users, stay tuned. It's really neat. It's the first product in our new Markz line of products, which I'll get to in a moment. It allows you to preview, export, and transition your Adobe InDesign files without even having InDesign on your machine. And without further ado, let's now throw it over to Doug Rosen to get a deep dive in.
IDMarkz is a standalone program that converts InDesign, or in this case, we're going to use an InDesign template file, into IDML. And you're probably wondering, what good is that going to do me? Well, if you're working at all with Affinity Publisher, this might prove to be a pretty handy little tool. Let's see how that might happen. I'm going to drag the INDT file provided by InDesign Secrets onto IDMarkz, and it generates previews for each of the pages. The previews aren't perfect, but they're pretty close, and they give you a really good idea. Versus in the Finder, another feature of IDMarkz is it provides a quick look plugin. So if I highlight a file and tap, I can see the bitmap preview that InDesign writes into the file. You can see this is kind of blurry here. If I go up here to IDMarkz, I can actually zoom up on that, and that's pretty clear, pretty crisp text. So now let's see about getting this into Affinity Publisher. That's one click away. Just click on the Publisher button up here, sit back for a few seconds, and it's now converted that file and opened it up in Affinity Publisher, so I can go ahead and make edits. So if I go up in here, just put some garbage text in there and do a save as. We'll put it right next to the original InDesign template. And we'll go ahead and we'll close that. You can see here that the Affinity Pub file showed up. If I double click on this, opens back up in Pub with my changes. But that's not where things stop. Let's delete we'll close this out, and we're going to set this up to do that automatically and add in a few other cool things as well. So I'm back in IDMarkz. I'm going to click on Command comma, bring up the preferences, and in the Automation tab on Document Open, I'm going to set it up to export in IDML, PNG, and GIF. Now the PNG and the GIF and the PDFs, all of these formats will generate PNGs and GIFs in this case of each of the pages. For the export path, I'm going to put it relative to the input. Since our input file is the INDT file, it should wind up in this folder. On export, always open the IDML in Publisher. So I've set that up. Let's close this. Do the same thing we just did before. Drag that on. We still get our previews, and it fired up Affinity Publisher. But look what happened behind the scenes here. In addition to opening up in Publisher, it extracted the IDML, wrote it out to disk for us, and all of the previews that IDMarkz generated for the images in the template file, those are put in a folder for you as well. And you can use those as placeholders when you're building stuff just to get an idea of what's going on. It created GIF files of each of the pages, and it created ping files of each of the pages. So that was all with one click we did that. Plus we're also over here in Affinity Publisher, and we can go ahead again and make changes if we want to. We'll do a save as, put that in this folder, and again here is our Affinity Publisher file. So if you happen to have a system that you have Affinity Publisher loaded on, but you don't have InDesign loaded on it, but you have InDesign files, this is a great tool for getting your files into Affinity Publisher. And now back to you, Dave.
All right, so that's the first part of the IDMarkz demonstration. Very, very interesting, isn't it? Don't forget, 20% off and cruising over to Markzware to get a chance to win it. But there's more. We're now going to show you a brand new feature in IDMarkz just introduced into the product, and I think you're going to find this very interesting. Back to Doug.
Let's take a look at another feature of IDMarkz, which is the ability to extract text out of an InDesign file, or in this case, an InDesign template file. So we'll first open the file, and then under the Export tab, you can see there's a Stories tab over here. We have three choices. Let's start with HTML. We'll put that at the same level as the file that we're previewing. We'll do text, which is just plain text. And lastly, we will do RTF. Okay, let's take a look at how they actually look. What did IDMarkz put out? So if we look at the text file, you can see that it's just plain text. If we look at the RTF file, you can see it appears that the top is blank, but you can see the cursor blinking here. If I do a Command A, you can see there is text there, it just happens to be white. So if you're working with this, you might want to change it to some other color. And lastly, let's look at the HTML output. And you can see that each of the stories, or the text boxes detected by IDMarkz, is put into a separate area, and it tries to honor the colors and the font sizes. So that's a quick look at the text export feature of IDMarkz, which allows you to export text out of an InDesign, or in this case an InDesign template file, without even having InDesign loaded on your system.
Isn't that neat? You can now export the text in many different ways and fashions. Get your previews, get your file info. As you see, IDMarkz is really a handy tool to have in your toolbox as a graphic designer, prepress, publisher, or even someone who doesn't have design but needs to view or even maybe work with InDesign files. And really great for those dabbling in an Affinity Publisher or other applications who have native InDesign files they want to use in those programs which accept IDML as a transition format. IDMarkz is the first of the Markz line, which we told you earlier. There'll also be a QXPMarkz for Quark documents and a PDFMarkz for PDF documents, doing very similar functions and interface what you just saw, actually pretty much exactly the same. And we're going to make that into a bundle called OmniMarkz, so you can get everything in one bundle, in one package, at a reduced price. Now this is not something that's going to come out right away. This will be in the future. We're just mentioning this now so you have an idea of our roadmap. Okay, so this is the end of our presentation, the closing. Thank you for your time. I hope it was very interesting. You can email us on sales@markzware.com for more information. Don't forget 20% off during this the time of this online event, and probably extended a little further after that. Cruising over to that special promo page to enter the chance to win one of these products for free. 3 lucky winners. We look forward to interacting with you. So on behalf of myself, Doug Rosen, and the rest of Markzware, we hope to see you as new customers, and if you're existing customers, we hope to hear from you soon.